Red dropped a brand new album titled Mansion Music last January. So the first thing I wanted to go ahead and dive into was the track list of the album. I want to point out the obvious in that 25 tracks is way too long, and that goes for anybody, including my favorite rapper. Let's be real though, he could have, cut out the filler. Even though I still listen to the filler, I mean, we could have at least cut out like 5 songs. I mean, he's done this before, really bloated an album's track list. He did it on Pegasus. This is an album to me that sounds really good on shuffle and is actually more fun that way. I do think that the first half of the album is a lot more stacked than the second half of the album. 21 of these songs having a feature is absolutely insane, but some of my favorite performances are the couple that we got from Chief Keef on this album were actually really good verses from him. Juice WRLD's posthumous feature did not disappoint whatsoever, and this just shows off how talented and versatile as an artist that he was making this type of rage music. I thought Durk's verse was extremely good. He's someone who's always killed features in my opinion. Lucky came through, slid on his verse. Even Summer's performance was really well, and I didn't expect him and Trippie's song to sound that way. But we're not letting some people off the hook. There were some lackluster feature performances. I'm gonna go ahead and state the obvious. Lil Baby, what was that, dude? Come on, man. Everyone was clowning him the night that the album dropped. His fully loaded verse, well, it was a little bit off. I also think that Rich the Kid just could not keep up with the beats whatsoever and just shouldn't have been on the album. Rilo Rodriguez sounds like he has a ton of snot in his nose and it needs to be cleared. There's a lot going on in this album, and one thing I really wanted to look at was Trippie Redd's performances on the albums. How did he do with all of these features being added on the album and with the track list being so long? So we'll go in order here in the track list, as I just want to point out some of the lyrics. I thought the whole little sequence of flows that he did on Mansion Music after the Jack Sparrow line was all super clever. Trippie was just pretty much unstoppable with one long verse on that song. I absolutely love how that was set up. Trippie also said Papa Dude top like a damn can good. Now this is a callback to the same Lil Wayne bar that he used in the intro to his album I'm Not a Human Being 2, which Trippie claimed this was a big influence and a big influence on the track list of the album, as it clearly shows. Listen closely to the flow that Trippie uses on Atlantis. It switches multiple times. Throughout his verse it actually gets better and better and more complex. I have to see Trippie record his ad-libs in the studio for the song Psycho. I mean, he was just yelling in the background. The ad-libs were hilarious on that song. He also asked in the song, is the bass loud? The answer is yes. That little high-pitched voice he did in Van Helsing, I'm so addicted to it. I love it, man. Now this might be a hot take, but I think Dark Brotherhood is one of the best performances on the album from Trippie. Now don't get me wrong, the lyrics are all over the place. They're a little silly, but I'm not taking it too serious, man. He said, keep it litty like a titty. I mean, that's a terrible bar. He also did mention walking the ops down and grittying, a gritty bar, that's also very cringe. Come on, Tripp. One bar he did mention was that the bus got shot up and they missed him, and he's referring to the Trip at Night tour when him and Ian Dior's bus got shut up or whatever happened in that altercation. But that was interesting to see him refer back to that little incident last summer. I still think the Michael Vick line on Muscles was absolutely insane and out of pocket. High Hopes, Pure, Biggest Bird, Witchcraft, Hideout, all examples of just great hooks, great Trippie performances. He's just such a solid artist. He did recycle bars a couple times, but I did like the whole, bitch I'm a god like I'm Raiden. I think he even used like Batman bars too many times on this album. Rockout is another example similar to Atlantis, where Trippie he moves different on those type of glow beats and the songs with Chief Keef on this album. Bitches Call Me Trippie, I'm So Fucking Awesome it was such second grader lyricism, but it was still a fun song. Now onto the production of this album. This album was obviously executive produced by the legend, Chief Keef. I feel like some people haven't heard his albums before, his mixtapes or anything, and they're complaining like, oh, the mixing, or oh, the mixing on Crazy Train. Bro, shut up and enjoy the music, man. If you've never heard Chief Keef, I'm sorry, but that's what his music sounds like. It's not mixed the best, it's trap music, it's hype music. There's not bad mixing enough to where the song is not listenable on here, and you're lying to yourself if you think otherwise. All of like the glow beats and that type of Chief Keef inspiration on this album was so cool to see. I love the zone that Trippie was in. There's lots of rage beats as in like Whole Lotta Red beats, Cutting Carson beats, that type of stuff the underground is on. There's a few of of those on the album. You know, that's what Trip at Night was more focused on. There's a lot of rage beats, more of like just hype songs, I guess is what you're saying. And it's a little more out of the box than just like your standard, you know, rapping on piano trap beats every time. Although there's plenty of piano trap beats on here too. I thought Free Rio and Crazy Train were just Call of Duty is how you would explain these type of beats. Kind of the video game-ish beat that Die Die brought was super cool. It really grew on me a ton. And then hearing Pierre Bourne and Trippie reunite on the last song of the album, which was really out of place, but either way. I don't know why they decided to add toilet flushes in the album, but dude, it was funny, and there's bird noises on the album, absolutely beautiful as well. One last thing I want to discuss was kind of the sales and maybe kind of the feedbacks that the hip hop community gave Trippie for this album. And the overall total after the first week was 59K. Now that is kind of middle of the road for Trippie. It's not really a W and it's not really an L. I'd say it's more of like a small W maybe. And here's why. Pegasus was a very terribly received album, and that sold about 60K first week, and that, you know, had a full rollout to it. Same thing with Exclamation Point, that had a full rollout to it, and that did 51K first week. So Mansion Music, you know, being right in the middle of that perfectly makes sense, especially if you look at the feedback and kind of how people received this album and kind of how many people were listening to it. But keep in mind that there was no rollout to this album other than maybe posting some snippets and maybe just captioning everything #MM and trying to get us excited, just waiting to drop. There was no official singles ever released for this project prior. There's no momentum going into this project at all. So there was also no physical copies either, and if there was, then, you know, I would have bought it and I would have put it on my shelf for the top left of the video. Another thing that Trippie went ahead and talked about in his Zane Lowe interview on Apple Music was the fact that hackers have had his album and have been affecting his album rollouts for the past like 2 or 3 albums now, and it's been a huge problem and part of Trippie's kind of rollouts the last couple times, and it really is affecting his sales, and you have to put that into account as well. Either way, I think the sales are fine. I mean, I did personally expect him to do maybe about like 70K. I do think Trippie's someone that can sell a little bit higher, and I think he will sell higher again if he has, you know, a proper full rollout. But keep in mind, the reason why Mansion Music is the way that it is because Mansion Music was plan B. I think he made the right move. He canceled it and he went ahead and put out Mansion Music first. Now all of a sudden you have people talking about, hey, go back to sad music, drop this, drop that, we need a Love Letter to You 5. Mansion Music did exactly what it needed to do, and it hyped up a Love Letter to You 5 again, kind of brought his name back in the game after not dropping for a year and a half. But Trippie Redd is so versatile that he can never please everyone. Every single album that he drops sounds different from the last. He's got so many different styles of music, so many different genres, and he's never able to please everyone. So there's always gonna be people pissed off, and there's always gonna be mixed opinions on all of his albums, and that's just how it's gonna be. But yeah, my overall enjoyment of Mansion Music is it has not left rotation. I've absolutely loved this album, and where it ranks in his discography is, I'm kind of just throw it in the middle. The middle is all kind of really close for me. It doesn't really touch like his top 3 albums for me, I would say, but Mansion Music is a very, very solid album, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a firm 9 out of 10. I think it is the definition of a 9 out of 10. Made it a little bit shorter, maybe could have cut a few little features, but that was all a little obvious stuff. I'm really excited to jump into a Love Letter to You 5, as that's what we should be getting next from Trippie Redd. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end of the video. Remember, I have a Twitter and Instagram. Go check me out there. Other than that, more videos will be coming soon. Peace.